remember meeting Pastor Brandon?
I came to the church for the first time the week before Thanksgiving of 2016.
Okay. And what made you go by the church?
I live down the street, and from July of 2016, I'd come across other religion besides Christianity, and it really had me questioning a lot of things, and my eyes were open, the veil, as they say, was torn, and I started becoming more questionable, and every time I pass that church, it's like, if there's something higher, and you want to know, it's right there, just go. And then one weekend I was like, okay, I'm going to go. It was a weekend he was working, so I was going to go check it out by myself. And we were having some conflicts about me being spiritual and him not really understand. We never had that in our relationship, so it was different. So I went to the church, and that sermon, I swear, it was like God was speaking to me right through Brandon. He just says that the Bible is based on a true story. So go home and read it as if it were true, because it is real. And the question I had to myself was, if God's real, what is it that I need to do? Like, what does God want me to do? And it was to just follow him. And that's what that entire sermon was about that day, was to just pick your Bible up and follow him. And he'll lead the rest of the way. So that day after, I could not stop crying. So that whole sermon, I was just crying my eyes out. And a coworker told me the next day that was the Holy Spirit over me. I couldn't stop receiving the message. So that day I went home from church, and I picked that Bible up, and I just started reading it, and it was just overwhelming. It felt like the right thing. And so I started talking to him about it, and the welcome card that I'd filled out at the church was, how come coming to God makes my relationship with my boyfriend at the time draw further apart. It was as if we were going on two different paths, and we were having a lot of conflict because of that. And Brandon wrote me back telling me that God's first, that you're going to have conflict with your brothers, your sisters, your husbands, your wives, but you put God first, and God's going to make that happen for you. And when I went home, I told Mark all about it, and he was kind of skeptical about it at first, because I was just at the different religion, and now I'm on this religion. It's like, I'm just hopping, and I guess it was different for him. So we had some conflict about it, but he says, I see that you're going to go on this path with or without me, and I'm going to at least try to come on the path with you. So one night, a Wednesday night during prayer, we went over there for him to check out the church, and he says when he walked in, he was going in there to save his relationship, and by the time he walked out, he wanted to come back for himself.
So you see that she's getting interested in religion, and she's checking out. My understanding was she was kind of just online, checking out a lot of different stuff, so she went to this church. So when she came home and told you that she went by this church, what was going through your mind?
I was honestly, I was a bit angry, confused. I felt, I guess, left behind a little bit, kind of jealous. And, she was changing into a better person, but in my mind at the time, it wasn't the person I fell in love with, so I was kind of angry that she was changing, even though it was for the better. I was being selfish. And so I decided to give it a chance, and that's when we went to prayer. And instead of being a prayer session, Brandon ended up preaching to us all night. And at the end of the night, he said, this isn't at all how I planned it. It was supposed to be a prayer night. I ended up preaching. He said, somebody in here must have needed to hear the word. And I looked over at Kaylee, and I said, that was me. He's talking about me. I needed to hear that, and it really hit me deep, hit me hard. And like she said, I went in there to, looking to save my relationship, and I walked out with a new relationship with God, someone totally different. And we've been trying to make prayer every week. I work every other weekend, so it's hard to make church, but when I can, I take off a Sunday to make church, and every Sunday that I'm off, we're there, we're participating, we getting the kids involved, trying to get them to love it as much as we do.
So now you both go home. You, first of all, realize that you begin that relationship with Jesus, okay? So you go just to try to save your marriage, but you end up giving your heart to Jesus. So when you left that night, and you're thinking he was speaking to me, so tell me what happened when you went home that night after you went. What happened?
They have to do something real quick. Pause it real fast. Real fast. Pick up an order.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but
It's all right.
Oh, no, thank you for letting us be here. This
my
is,
wife will just barge right in and she's got to.
Well, I was, as soon as we walked into the van, I was telling her about what Brandon had said and about someone in the audience needed to hear that sermon. And I was like, that was me, you know. And before we went there, I made a comment. I was like, you know, is this going to be every Wednesday night? You know, it's kind of cumbersome and time consuming. And after we left, I was like, so this is every Wednesday night? You know, like we get to come back on Wednesday? And she's like, yeah. So it was very exciting to have a new experience. You know, as a kid, I'd always went to church with my dad because it was the thing to do. And for the first time in my life, I had wanted to come to church because I wanted to come. I wanted that relationship.
so now you go back and you realize you've been kind of living together for many years now, and God began to put a check in your spirit about that, okay? So tell me what God, start with you, Katie. Tell me as you began to go back, or maybe it started with you first. I'm not sure who it started with, but you're thinking, hey, do we need to change something about the way that, you know, our living situation? How'd that come up?
Well, we had, you know, having 2 kids together and living together already, it was definitely something that we'd want to get married one day. And I guess starting to go to church, it just felt like, you know, that sin, we needed to do something about it. We needed to take care of it. So after a couple of weeks going to church and everything, Kaylee was approached by one of the members who said, hey, you want to become a member of the church? And not ever going to church before, we didn't realize, you know, you go through a membership program, and to actually become a member, we just thought you go to the church, you're a member of that church. So I paired up with Brandon, and he walked me through the membership course. And, you know, throughout the course, I'd asked him, I said, hey, are you ordained to marry? He's like, yes, I am. I'm like, will you marry us? He's like, well, yeah. And I told him a date, and it was actually for next February. And he said, why? Why wait that long? I said, well, it's the date I was given, the date I was told. So I went home and I talked to Kaylee about it, and I talked to her in October of this year. And then plans fell through again with that, so we ended up moving it all the way to April. So within 7 weeks, we got engaged, scheduled, and had a marriage.
So, walk me through that. If I understand right, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that basically you just realized you wanted to honor God, and you realized that your current living situation was not honoring God, so you made some changes internally. I think you said you began to sleep on the couch or whatever. Kind of walk me through how that evolved. Okay,
So after we had gotten engaged, we had a couple approach us from the church and asked if they could do a dinner with us about, you know, marriage counseling, basically. So we went to dinner with them, and they told us that we should honor God and be celibate during our engagement. And I didn't realize the weirdest thing happened that day before I went to lunch. I was speaking with a friend of mine, and she was telling me about being celibate. And I just thought it was crazy, you know. We've been together for so long, we have children together. How could I possibly just turn around and be obedient, you know? And so I told him, I prayed. I was at lunch, and I prayed, and I told God, I said, if this is something you want me to do, then show me. So we went to dinner that night with our friends that was doing the counseling with us, and he told us that we should be celibate. And I'm like, okay, God, I hear you. You're there. So that's when he started sleeping on the couch, and we were celibate. And
How did you take that? So you came home, she came home for lunch and said, okay, we're gonna make some changes. How did that come across to you?
Well, it was actually a dinner night with Sean, his wife Cherie, Kaylee, and myself. So, and I didn't know about her praying about the whole celibacy thing until we were actually leaving. And Sean laid it out on the table. He said no sleeping in the same bed together, no showers together. He laid everything out exactly how it needs to happen. So, and that's what we left. And Kaylee was telling me, it is so weird because I was praying about that today, if we should practice celibacy until the marriage, and here Sean is telling us exactly what we need to do here, you know, like God spoke through Sean to guide us in the correct direction, you know. And at first I was kind of like, you know, hey, can we kind of take turns on the couch? You know, I like my bed too, but I finally, you know, I noticed that she was having a hard time coping with the couch. I mean, it's a really comfortable couch to me. I enjoy it. So I figured I'd just sleep on the couch and let her have the bed for, it was only a couple weeks.
So tell me, what do you see now? Here you think about where you are today versus where you were even several months ago. Tell me the difference Jesus has made in your heart, Kelly, in your life.
He's brought me peace. He's saved some of my family through his word. He's brought so much love and obedience. Like, it's just crazy. It's different.
How about you, Mark? You know, the difference is just in a few months now. Then you kind of like the before and after, okay? So tell me tell me about what difference Jesus is making in your life, has made in your life.
He's helped me be a more calm person, a lot more forgiving than what the old Mark used to be. Definitely a different change of thought. The things that I used to do, I try not to be as judgment. I try to help people instead of saying, oh, this person must be doing this because of whatever. It's more like, how can I help that person? You know, there's people at work I talk to about God, and one of my coworkers the other day was about marriage, trying to get them to see the light and how I've come to see it. And ever since the marriage counseling that we've had, it's a whole totally different experience. It's not just marriage. It's a united covenant that is really special. It's a special bond between myself, my wife, and God. It's not just a piece of paper, or oh, we're just dating, or, you know, 5 years later, but we're doing everything a married couple's doing, but we're just not married. You know, it's important to take that step. If you're really committed to loving somebody, you know, why not take that step?
You know, we were explaining to you before the video started, there's like 1,600 Baptist churches across Louisiana, about 500,000 members and like this, and every year they take an offering for state missions and ministries that helps start new churches like St. Rose, and helps with other disaster relief and so many other things. And so all these people who you'll probably never meet, but pray for you, that are giving gifts to help get this started. How does it make you feel to know that there's a bigger family behind you that's praying for you and providing things to get St. Rose off the ground? How does it make you feel to know that you have this bigger family supporting you through this?
It's life-changing. Like, I've never felt so supported. It's like they want to take your burdens and carry them with you and then just help you overcome anything. Like, you feel powerful.
Oh, yeah.
You feel so close to God. They are so godly.
How does it make you feel, Mark, to know you got this bigger family behind you?
It feels really awesome. It's really heart-touching that, you know, people who've never met us, people who may never get a chance to meet us, and we'll never get a chance to meet them and actually know a face or a name, but these people cared enough to help, to give to their community, which helped our community out. It's really changed our life. It's changed our kids' lives. It's been a really amazing experience.
What I want you to do now, we're going to do two things.